Hello, everyone. This is Jesse Zadanek. Welcome to another edition of Dynaway Dialogues. Great to have you join us today. And today we have one of our good friends and customers, Norm Robert. He's from Amy's Kitchen. They're a food manufacturer based in the Bay Area of California, and really glad that we're able to have him today. Norm, thanks for joining. Welcome.
Thank you, Jesse. Great to be here. Nice to see you again. I think it's been 5-6 years since we saw each other.
Yeah,
looking forward to this opportunity.
Norm, it's great to have you. You're with Amy's Kitchen. Can you tell us a little bit about Amy's and kind of your journey with them?
Yeah, Amy's Kitchen was founded in 1987, I think, right around the same time I got into the food industry. So it's been quite a while, about 37 years. Amy's is an all vegetarian company. They're primarily organic, so they cater to people with special needs, gluten-free products and things like that. I would say one of my favorite things about Amy's is that their focus on quality is more than, having been in the food industry since 1987. Their focus on quality is just immense. It's incredible. So I'm really proud to be with this type of an organization. I started with them probably about 9 years ago, almost 9 years ago. I started as a maintenance manager, and I was in the company for about 3 months and was told that we were changing from MP2 to Dynaway. So I asked to be part of the group that was going to implement it, just because I always believe that a CMMS system is used to manage the business, and so I asked to be part of that, and that's how I started my journey.
Right.
Then did that for about 2.5 years. Was promoted to the engineering manager with responsibilities in maintenance as well. So maintenance reported to me as well. And then last year I was given a really great opportunity. I think based on some of the successes I had in our Santa Rosa facility, I was given the opportunity to be the enterprise leader for maintenance and reliability. And so now I'm traveling back and forth to 3 plants, one in Oregon, one in Idaho, and this one here. I'm based out of Santa Rosa, but going back and forth and visiting each plant, it's just been a fantastic experience for me. And that's my story with Amy's Kitchen.
Fantastic. So I think we talked a little bit earlier. You have an engineering background and have worked a lot with reliability, especially in the food industry. So how has your engineering background and your reliability background kind of impacted your journey with Amy's? How does it, I guess, manifest itself in your work?
Yeah, so I actually started as a mechanic in the food industry. I was rebuilding and repairing tomato harvesters for a few years during college.
Okay.
And then I spent the next 7 years in operations, not even considering a career in maintenance or engineering. I was an operations supervisor and shift manager, things like that. And I was at Sara Lee, and the VP of operations brought me into his office and asked me if I wanted to run the maintenance department and help the plant engineer run some capital projects. So I saw it as a good opportunity and started to learn about maintenance. At that time, they didn't have any CMMS system or anything. They had PMs on a notebook in their back pocket.
Right.
But since then, I've grown with maintenance, and I've gone back and forth between maintenance and engineering.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually very similar. In when you're managing engineering projects, you're installing processes that are going to improve the plant and improve reliability, things like that. Maintenance is the same thing. I would say what I learned early is the most important thing to consider when you're doing a project, if you want it to be successful, and that can apply to maintenance or engineering, is to get the people involved. Start understanding their pain points and understand what their needs are. You can't just put in a piece of equipment that they won't know how to operate, and that kind of thing. And maintenance is exactly the same. We're doing it slightly different. It's a little more people oriented, but we're putting in processes to improve the plant reliability, planning and scheduling process, or workflow management process. All the things that Dynaway helps us manage, those are all processes that improve the plant, and that's basically the difference between engineering and maintenance. Very similar.
Right. Now, you've worked for several food companies. I think Campbell's, Heinz. You mentioned Sara Lee. What's unique, or how has Amy's been a little bit different as far as the processes that you've dealt with?
Well, I think the bottom line is you have to get everybody on the same page. So
Yeah.
it starts with education.
Mhm.
I was really fortunate in my career to have worked when I was at Kraft. We
Mhm.
brought in a consultant group
Yeah.
called it's Allied Reliability now. They were called GP Allied at the time. But as I progressed through a career in maintenance, I wasn't aware of all the best practices in maintenance, and I was just doing the best I could and managing the people and the processes that were in place. But it never dawned on me until I was working with some consultant groups that there are a lot of things in maintenance that we could do better. And so
Mm.
that was a really good experience to be able to work with 3 or 4 different consultant groups. And last year we brought in a consultant to work here at Amy's Kitchen.
That's fantastic. Now I know you have helped lead the implementation of Dynaway EAM, which became the asset management product in a base module for Microsoft. And we're going to have people with both solutions at the conference coming up. But what were I guess, the metrics or the KPIs or the things that were important to Amy's that kind of drove that project, and why were those important?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I was kind of dragged in and then volunteered to be part of the implementation. And
Right.
that's because I see a CMMS as an opportunity to help manage the business. And I can tell you other managers in the company didn't really see it that way. They just kind of see it as a hindrance, and now we got to document our work and that kind of stuff. But
Right.
I just viewed it differently. So you have your basic KPIs like PM compliance, where you can see if you've got 100 PMs and you completed 90 out of 100, you're at 90%. Schedule compliance, there's inventory accuracy, things like that. But there's also some good reliability data, like a mean time between failure and mean time between repair, or mean time to repair. So those kind of KPIs are all kind of standard practice. But with Dynaway, I saw a unique opportunity with related work orders,
Mhm.
in the way that you can set up a work order type. We have one set up as preventive corrective, and we're putting this process in place where the mechanic does a PM and they identify something on the PM that needs to be repaired. So we ask them to create a related work order that's separate, so we can track the hours on a PM and then track the actual work that was found on a PM. What that does is it basically tracks how much downtime we avoided, which is typically not something that operations is aware of. They
Mhm.
know that last week we had 5 hours of downtime, but they don't know that last week we also prevented 50 hours of downtime. So this is giving us some really good visibilities. Um, we just implemented the Dynaway analytics, and we have a report now where I can actually generate a leaderboard, and I can show by plant which mechanic is avoiding the most downtime. So it's really, really impressive, really good product, and I'm just starting to learn the new Dynaway analytics. Very powerful.
I'm just curious, are you distributing those weekly? Is it on a big board? How do you get that information out?
We're actually in the process of customizing right now with Ulrich,
Uh-huh.
and so I'm teaching, showing the product to the supervisors. I showed it to the VP of manufacturing. Right now, and probably for another 3 or 4 weeks, we're still using the old method. I was just exporting data into Excel, and then I created a lot of graphs
Yeah.
and charts
Right.
to measure things.
Mhm.
But probably in a few weeks, and we'll post it. Each of the plants has a TV monitor that we can post the KPIs. But
Yeah.
I think more importantly, it's on a routine basis. We need to talk about those in front of the mechanics. So
Mhm.
each plant is a little bit different. Some have weekly meetings, some have monthly meetings. But I think it's important, if we're asking for accurate work orders, we need to show how we're using that data. So that's going to be a key.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I love to hear the practical applications of, business intelligence and ultimately the data that you're extracting by asking those people to adopt a new solution and put it into place, because it does take work. It's a new process. Change is always tough, and
Yep.
you guys certainly know that, because you've gone through that for years and years now.
Yep. I actually I created a technician scorecard using Excel, and I gave that information to Ulrich as we're going through this customization process.
Mhm.
and he's created this technician scorecard. So biomechanic, a supervisor can look at his team and he can see each mechanic's PM compliance. He can see how many reactive work orders they're putting in, how many hours they're capturing during the day. So it's all about measuring and improving and having visibility. So
Yeah, I really like the old adage that if you can't measure it, you can't improve it, So that's a great
absolutely.
that's a great way to put something that's usually very nebulous into some sort of concrete way to measure it. So that's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you just maybe talk a little bit about continuous improvement? I know that's a big push there at Amy's, and currently how that's impacting the plant's performance. Have you seen, or can you define any kind of improvement metrics that you've seen over the time you've been working there?
Yeah, so I'll kind of describe the process over the last almost a year. I was given this role in May of last year, and we brought in a consultant. We did some best practice training in each of the plants. I went to each plant, and so the leadership teams were given best practice training in all the core systems and maintenance. And then the consultant does an evaluation. We look at where we're at in each of these core systems, and that's very eye opening, especially for supervisors and managers who have never gone through that process.
Yeah.
So it starts with looking at how you're doing and then coming up with a plan. And we created a long-term plan that's probably going to take 5 to 10 years to do everything. So it's over 250 items for each plant. But then we put some focus on the first year. We decided to look at PM optimization, planning and scheduling, and work order accuracy. So we're focusing right now on those three things. And the work order accuracy is giving us a lot more clarity as far as what equipment to work on. We're now getting fault code information. So all of those things that were built into the system are starting to provide some real valuable information. PM optimization, I think we've improved almost 200 PM plans, created 50 new PM plans. I forgot the name of the report in Dynaway. I think it's a maintenance strategy report. You can actually see a list of all your equipment that shows what the strategy is. Basically, if you don't have a PM, it says that you're in a run to fill strategy, which is probably not good for most equipment. But that helps us, identify and prioritize and decide what to focus on for PM optimization. And the last one is planning and scheduling, just trying to make the mechanics more efficient, improving wrench time. And that starts with that process that I was talking about earlier. When they create a related work order to a PM when they find something, we're asking them to make a decision at that time. Do they just do the repair? If it's critical, if they need to, then they can do the repair. But ideally, they can uncheck a box that doesn't assign the work order to them on their iPads. All our mechanics are using an iPad, and they all have mobile EAM. But by unassigning it, it goes to the planner, and that just makes the mechanics more efficient. We can improve wrench time that way. So those are the three systems that we're working on, and we're now starting to see results, especially in two of our plants. At the beginning of last year, we saw a downtime trend that was going up, and now we're starting to see that trend coming back down. And it may take a little while, but I think we're going to start to see trending in our overall maintenance costs. The average cost for a plant that's very reactive can be quite high, and as you start to get more proactive and more reliable, you can cut the maintenance cost by 30 to even 70%. Depending on the plant. So yeah. hopefully maybe towards the end of this year and into next year, we'll start to see a reduction in those costs.
I'm always curious because we often say that you can reduce downtime, and you said you were trending in that direction. Do they ever throw around any downtime costs, like it costs us $10,000 an hour when we're down, or anything like that? Is there any quantification you can put to that?
Yeah, there will be. And actually last year we didn't have this ability, but as I was implementing these strategies with each of the plants, we got a list of all the deferred maintenance that need to happen and all the spare parts that we were short on, and the cost of implementing predictive maintenance and precision maintenance training and all of those costs. So I was asked, of course, to justify that investment. So in doing that, I worked with the controllers at each of the plants, and we identified based on the different line what the cost of downtime is at each line. And that's really valuable because now with the report in Dynaway Analytics, I can see how many downtime hours we avoided. And I don't have the connection yet. I can do an average for a plant, and I can convert that to dollars.
Mm.
If we can spend the time and maybe integrate a little bit more with Dynaway Analytics, we could actually do that by functional location, and we could do it by area. So
That's fantastic.
maybe,
Those are powerful numbers.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
It's visibility that operations didn't have before. They always have the downtime visible. You can ask an operations manager how the plant run last week, and he'll run off 3 or 4 downtime items and talk about that, but they never talk about how much downtime maintenance avoided. So it's going to start to paint a better picture.
That's wonderful.
And it's what mechanics do in every maintenance department around the country. That's exactly what they do. Just nobody's aware of it. So
yeah, exactly.
Looking forward to the numbers going up.
Yeah, excellent. So let's transition. The Dynaway Connect conference is coming up. We're glad to have you as a speaker there, Norm. Tell us a little bit about kind of what you're hoping to share there at the conference.
Well, I'm going to share a little bit about what we talked about today. I'm going to share our journey. I'll cover like best practices in the 9 core systems of maintenance. I'll spend a lot of time focusing on culture change. If you've probably seen the model where you're building a house and you have the foundation, you have the walls or the pillars, and then you have the roof. And the roof is the ultimate goal. It's having a roof over your head. It's getting good KPIs and bringing down costs and downtime. And the walls are the core systems like planning and scheduling, things like that. Skills training, all of the 8 core systems. But the foundation is that culture change. It's teaching the supervisors that they need to be deliberately changing the culture, deliberate actions to monitor what we're asking them to do to change the behaviors. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. And then how to prioritize where to start. As I mentioned, we've got over 250 things, and we chose 3 things to focus on. You can't do everything at once. You're going to fail at everything. And so I'll talk a little bit about how to prioritize and how each of those systems interacts with each other and things like that. And then I've got a tool that I'd like to share. That's basically it came from Allied Reliability. They call it the Maturity Matrix, and it's a list of best practices. And you can create a value score from that and then generate a gap analysis. So with that gap analysis, especially if you're managing multiple plants, you can see that one plant may have a small gap in a certain area and 2 other plants have a large gap. Now we can take information and learn processes from one plant and bring them to the other plant. So I'll kind of share this gap analysis tool that I've created, and that's about it.
Sounds fantastic. I can't wait to sit in on that one. Last question, Norm, before I let you go, I guess. We've decided to host this asset management conference. It's a new experience for us. We're really excited about it. But we wanted to get your take on conferences in general, this type of learning, sharing. How have you seen it in the past? Has it been useful for you as a professional? And how do you think that ultimately impacts the business that you're working with?
Yeah, I've attended maintenance conferences in the past, but I think what's unique about this, I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to work with other people who are using Dynaway. I've learned a lot of things. I'm still, after 8 years, I'm still learning different ways to use it. And so I've struggled and I've learned from my pain. Other people have had completely different pain points. They've learned from their pains, and they've implemented better processes. So number one, I'm really looking forward to learning from Thomas and Klaus and your team, but just the people who are using it and unique ways that they're using it. That's the opportunity for me. So I'm really looking forward to that and sharing how we use it.
Yeah, that's something I'm really excited about too, because I hear so many great stories from our customers and customers that are using asset management, and being able to be in the middle of that knowledge share where people are bouncing things off of each other. And there's so many unique, but also similar in some ways, situations that companies are in. They're all trying to achieve greater PM compliance. They're all trying to get more out of their assets. They're all trying to lower costs. And the way they do that may be different from company to company, but having those conversations about how they accomplish those goals, it may give you new ideas. That's what we're hoping this conference will help facilitate, and all in a fun environment as well. So I'm excited about it.
Yep, me too.
Good.
Looking forward to it.
Good. So as we wrap up another edition of Dynaway Dialogues, I just want to thank you for joining, Norm. I ask those that are listening, please like, subscribe, let us know in the comments if you find this information useful. And we're glad you're checking us out. And until next time, thanks again for joining and for listening. And Norm, thanks for being on.